The news. Here is an illustrated summary of the news, happenings at home and abroad.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Brock Wally program. My name is Brock Wally. I am your fearless host. And today we will tackle the news headlines together, sifting out the leftist chaff from the golden wheat of truth. Let's dive into those stories. An entrepreneur. My heroes, by the way. My heroes are not well-lit, tan debutantes who regurgitate lines on the silver screen. My heroes certainly aren't. Some weird athlete detached from reality. No, my heroes are people who make money, produce wealth, produce services and goods, employ people, and thus allow families to have a house, an education, a livelihood, a healthy, productive life. That's my hero. Those are the people that give back. Those are the people that deserve our respect. Unfortunately, they are excoriated. Unfortunately, they are raked over the coals of a wisdomless society, an ideology so devoid of anything true or wise that it's almost like a Sahara desert if wisdom were rain. Nonetheless, an entrepreneur, again my hero, defends Donald Trump from a business perspective in the Wall Street Journal. And it's a fascinating read in that respect. It really comes down to what you value, I guess. I think a lot of people look at Donald Trump in a bullet point style observance. And here's what I think they think. The guy knows what he's doing with business. He's a wrecking ball to a corrupt, and I want to reiterate, corrupt Washington, D.C. apparatus. And if you haven't been convinced of that, at the very least, you're a hopeless cause. But I think, he's got the whole wrecking ball thing, and I think he knows what he's doing when it comes to the business world. And I think that's just enough for some people. Now, is that limbo low? Maybe. That's certainly where we're at. I mean, limbo low. Is that debated? 7.5 years of total chaos from top to bottom. And the sad truth of it is most of it purposeful. So are we limbo low? Yes. Are people sick of it? Yes. Has the Republican Party gutted itself of all credibility? Yes. Is the Democrat Party just, at this point, and we're going to get to stories like this, especially in light of this transgender stuff, the Democrat Party is just flagrant evil at this point. I'm not talking about Democrats. I'm talking about the Democratic Party. Look at the world. And look at the press secretary's bullet points on his weird, polished, Capitol-like prop TV, throwing breadcrumbs to the media, mice beneath his face. Just transgender bathrooms is what we're tackling. Look. That explains Trump. Nonetheless, if you're interested in this stuff, millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of Americans are captivated by him, voting for him. And despite the latest lines, and they are just pre-written lines, nobody believes anything they say. The latest lines from the media about Trump getting just railroaded and bloodbath defeated, I'm telling you right now, I wouldn't take that to the bank if I were you. Nonetheless, if you're looking for an explanation, and reason I tee this stuff up like that, are you looking for an explanation? Are you looking for clarity? So many people, I think, and I respect them, they have pause on Trump, and they're like, why the support? What's the surrounding circumstances that would bring Donald Trump to, the premise of political conversation? And I'm offering you explanations here. This is the reason why. And the biggest reason why, I think, is economics. I think the biggest reason that this man is resonating is just simple economics. That's what it is. So anyway, an entrepreneur defends Donald Trump from a business perspective, case by case. Makes a watertight case, in my opinion. Wall Street Journal has that one. Homicide rates shoot up again, mainly in poor and black neighborhoods, directly attributed to the Ferguson Effect, the quote-unquote Ferguson Effect, which the left vehemently denied. Well, here's an interesting. So the Washington Post has that piece, and then the Guardian has a fascinating follow-up piece The lead no Ferguson Effect researcher, so the left has these guys that go out there and under the guise of science, they throw out some data or what have you. So the lead researcher in this like hack organization says, I got it wrong. I was wrong. When you pull police out, when you slander police, when you blame police for what is just simple petty crime, which by the way, make no mistake, that's what we're talking about. You have a kid robs a liquor store, physically assaults a police officer, goes for his gun, the kid gets dead. The kid gets dead on the streets. That's not an endemic problem. That's not a we gotta turn this thing around. That's just common sense. And then instance after instance after instance, we just continue down this road. Well, what does a conservative like myself think about? Do I think about how to make myself feel good? Do I think about, like, what can I say to make myself sound like I'm not a racist, and all the while just disregarding truth, facts, reality in the world I live in? Or do I look at the innocent, the poor, the downtrodden? By the way, that's what Christ called me to do. Well, right here we have it. More people being murdered, bloodying the streets with their innocent blood. Because why? Well, the Ferguson Effect has pulled back the police from this environment, this crime-ridden environment. And what have we done? We've just blamed entities of society which have no culpability because we're so scared, morally confused, and chained by political correctness that we will not speak the truth into these instances, which is to say that there's a huge problem in the African American community, a huge, enormous problem. Instead of saying that, instead of talking about that openly and actually getting to the root of crime, we just arbitrarily blame some guy wearing a cop uniform, feel good about ourselves, and then what do you know? What do you know? Violence in black neighborhoods skyrocket. That means little girls studying on their bed, little black girls studying on their bed, try to get an A on their report card, and a stray bullet from a drive-by comes whizzing through the window, kills her instantly. Or kids walking to school, or grandmothers walking home from the market, not the grocery store, because nobody will even open up businesses in these communities because they're so crime-ridden and impoverished from Democrat policies. But instead of talking about that, we just completely and totally fabricate the entire situation, lie to ourselves, blow smoke up everybody's rear ends. Infuriating. The Ferguson Effect. And the lead no Ferguson Effect research comes out and says, I got it wrong. So here's a win for common sense. Here's a win for clear data and actual common sense. But once again, in the rear view mirror, leftism proving to murder people. Leftist ideology piles up body bags in reality. TheGarden.com has the piece. It infuriates me that we have to live in this world because of the grip, because of the steel grip of leftism, so that we can't communicate clearly, we can't address problems clearly. It's infuriating and it's got to stop. I'm so sick of it. When will we reach the threshold? When, my dear Americans? It's so obvious at this point. Companion piece to this. Ladies and gentlemen, your latest offering from the leftist filth pile, socialism, which they're peddling as the progressive wonder pill in America to the economically ignorant, is now starving the Venezuelan people. Now starving Venezuela. Venezuela, so rich with natural resources that it makes the American economy look like chump change if you actually take it pound for pound per capita. And socialism Hugo Chavez's socialism has so ravaged that country that people are now starving to death. And with these headlines in today's news, Bernie Sanders, Hillary Clinton, and the Democrat Party at large are peddling socialism to the dustbin of socialism, the refuted socialism to American millennials, and they're eating it up. It's unbelievable. New York Times even has this piece. Ruined, a country rich with resources, ruined by the ravaging consequences of socialism. It's just heart-sickening. And it's not a personal thing for me. It's a heartbreak thing, because when you hear these stories, what do we hear? We hear partisanship, right? Evil Brock trying to maybe say something bad about Barack Obama. Can't have that. That's the greatest remaining sin. No, I'm not trying to say something bad about Barack Obama. I'm talking about real people. These are real families, real consequences because of leftist policy, power over people. Progressive power grabs over people, real people, who are right now dying on the streets of America, graduating with 7th grade reading levels in public schools that leftists run with these policies that are so corrosive, and I'm just so tired of it. I'm so tired of it. And then they get to prance around under the guise of helping people. Prance around under the guise of being for the little guy. It's too much to take. My fellow Americans, it's just too much to take. Everywhere I turn, leftist policy is gutting this nation and gutting this globe. Everywhere I turn. And I'm just tired of it. I'm just so sick and tired of it. Ladies and gentlemen, the hypocritical left emerges again in the form of green gone wild madness. Quote unquote, well, just kill the birds. We need wind energy. We need wind energy to continue to propagate this myth that somehow government subsidized pet projects like Solyndra, which by the way is now bankrupt after billions of euro dollars being poured into that black hole. Wind energy, the myth of wind energy has to be perpetuated. So kill the birds. The government now to encourage bird slaughter. This all from the Green Gone Wild crowd that'll take a camera into a meat packing place and cry crocodile tears because the American people are eating like kings of the 17th century. And but we're allowed to just slaughter birds after we know the research, the science is in, but the left won't relent because it's all ideology and dogma. It's all religion to them. Wall Street Journal, again, I refute this stuff every day with example after example from all different sides, and it doesn't matter because it's not about science and it's not about facts. It's about dogma. That's what it's about, but we will continue to fight it. Hillary, quote unquote, from Slate.com. Slate might as well be the Marxist Manifesto. Slate claims that Hillary must choose Elizabeth Warren as her VP. I personally, just for the record, hope that Hillary Clinton follows this abysmal advice, but there you have it. Slate.com. For what it's worth. Clinton Foundation diverts cash into a friend of Bill's bank account. You got to do something with all this money. Buying the Clintons just lock, stock, and barrel right in front of your eyes, and there's still 45% of the Americans guaranteeing to vote for her. Unbelievable. The corruption is flagrant and naked and transparent. But nobody cares because that's what having a D next to your name means. By the way, Bill, apparently, news comes out, he flew on the Lolita Express, the Air Lolita, much more than previously reported. This is a pedophile plane that would go and have underage sex all throughout Southwest Asia and the like. Bill Clinton, that's right. He's booked me a first class ticket on a Lolita Express. That's right. Bill Clinton, this story comes out, and we got to endure. The New York Times comes out with this piece about Donald Trump and his women. I'm not kidding. And there are 200 reporters come out with this long, unintentionally funny piece meant to be taken seriously about how Trump likes women. Bill Clinton has legitimate rape claims in his background, by the way. Legitimate rape claims. And it's all hush-hush from the poor woman who was raped. And by the way, this is amazing. Hillary Clinton just months ago says, all women who make rape claims need to be instantly believed, regardless of circumstance. Unless if they're making rape claims against Bill Clinton, in which case they need to be silenced, threatened. This is preposterous to me. That the New York Times would print an article about Donald Trump liking women and having sex with women in light of the Clintons' past. But there you have it. It's a maddening world. It's insane. Fox News reporting the Lolita Express story. Goldberg has a piece in the New York Post. Why do millennials like socialism? Well, here's the reason. They think it's kind and they think it brings everybody together. They have no idea how badly this economic foolishness affects them. I have a podcast previous to this that makes my case to the millennial. Listen to it if you're interested. Trump won't release his tax returns, by the way, and for my guns, I hope he sticks to it. I hope he sticks to this and continues to say mind your own business. The media is not used to a guy not rolling over, and I happen to like it. I hope he paid almost no tax. I respect people who find ways to not pay tax. Paying taxes in the United States of America, specifically under leftist rule, is almost to be complicit with evil. You're going to what? Attack people with the IRS, the toothy IRS who don't agree with the administration's politics. What are you going to do? You're going to use the EPA to shut down businesses. That's all funded. You're going to pay for babies to be dismembered by way of Planned Parenthood. Not paying taxes in this country is righteous in my opinion. Nonetheless, there's the story. Whoever would have thought that transgender bathrooms would divide a nation? But the great divider-in-chief Barack Obama, he has a priority list. And forcing men to pee with little girls is at the top of it. It's sickening. It's a total and complete madness. I actually do think the country knows that, but we're in such a tailspin with such a fool at the helm. And of course, 2 elections, we do have to eat some consequences for that. And I think they're being served up cold right now. By the way, flashback, sex reassignment surgery helps no one. The Wall Street Journal publishing this. These are doctors, by the way. By the way, the psychology board just comes out and says forcing gender insanity on children is child abuse. They're not being bullied either. But this is the party that believes in science we hear. Science is on their side until they have no interest in it. Like, for example, when you have a twig and berries, you're a boy. Pretty hard, watertight science. Unless you just want to live in the leftist Looneyville of distraction, social engineering. By the way, how much win do leftist Democrats have to have before they make dudes peeing next to 8-year-old girls their new civil rights issue? How open-minded must this country actually be? How inclusive must this country actually be if to make hay, they got to go to dudes dressed in their girlfriend's undergarments peeing next to 8-year-old girls? Just think about how actually loving, actually accepting, actually amazing the United States is if that's the depths that the left has to plumb to make hay about this stuff. Just think about that. Nonetheless, sex reassignment surgery from a doctor's perspective, from a scientific perspective, is extremely harmful, Wall Street Journal. Hezbollah loses their top leader in Syria, this murderous thug, going to meet his virgins. Just thought you'd want to know that. Why are all PhDs, or nearly all PhDs, on the left? Well, now we have the data. There's a piece in the New York Times. Here's what it comes down to. Leftist education faculty lounges are propaganda mills. Universities are biosphere of thought rather than academic endeavors. It's just, how do you get funding? You're a leftist. How do you get into universities? You're a leftist. How do you teach at universities? Be a leftist. The more outrageous nonsense you write in your dissertation, the more likely you're going to make a higher paycheck. It's disgusting, but that's the truth of it. Will a Target boycott work? I don't know. 1.5 million Americans have signed a petition. I know a ton of people who won't shop there. I am one of them. The Yahoo.com article asks the question. And lastly, this is Jennifer Lawrence. She is the star of The Hunger Games. By all accounts, a talented actress. I don't think that can be denied. But now coming into the headlines, just desiring to tell Donald Trump to F off in public. She made it her mission, trying to seek him out, to make sure that she was on record as telling him to F off. This young woman raised in Texas, Kentucky, I'm sure, to wonderful parents. This is what being a young Hollywood actress does to your mind. It's very, very sad. This, of course, this is the irony of all this, right? Trump is being told to F off. Why? Because he divides people. Is this right? Because he uses incendiary language. And so the retort to that from these leftist, clueless clowns in Hollywood is to seek him out and publicly tell him to F off. If you don't see the irony in that, I certainly can't help you. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the world as it spins wildly off its axis under leftist rule. Be a people of fortitude, character, and abounding courage.
Typical white person.
And Reclos les productions,